What's going on, everybody? Today is November 28th, and as I'm sure you've heard, the Mauna Loa began erupting late last night and has been erupting throughout the night. And there's a lot of news stories out there, a lot of questions. Everybody here on the Big Island's phones have been blowing up and emails have been blowing up. And so I wanted to do a quick video and explain the way the mountain is situated and where the flows will go and give some perspective on why we're really not worried. Because the short story is it's not a big deal. Life goes on. We're back at work today, taking phone calls, but everything pretty much is the same as it always is. We're monitoring obviously what's going on, but we're not living in fear or freaking out or anything like that. So if you look at this map, this is from the USGS, so it's an official map that chronicles where historic lava flows have gone on the Big Island from Mauna Loa. And Mauna Loa is the largest volcano on the island. It's huge. And if you look at the colored area, that's where the slopes of Mauna Loa are. And what this map does, which is very helpful, is it kind of breaks each area up and color codes it and gives you an idea of how long it would take, where the historical flows were, and then how long those flows take to get to the ocean or down to where they stopped. And so if you start from the North Kona area, so this is Hualalai Mountain right here, so it wouldn't flow obviously over Hualalai because it's another large old volcano, so it's going to flow around that, but it can flow up into North Kona. This is the Puaku Waikoloa area, so that is still technically on the slopes of Mauna Loa. And if you look at this orange colored area, it can take days to weeks to get there. So if you look, it took 8 days in 1859 for a flow to get from the summit of Mauna Loa down to the ocean here. And then as we go east, the Hilo zone here is this blue area. And in the Hilo area, it can take weeks to months because of the topography. It's it's not as steep. And so there was a flow in 1984 that stopped up in the mountains, but it took like 280 days to get down to Hilo here in this flow. So very slow flowing if it goes to the Hilo side. And then as we move south, if we look at the south part of the island, this is Kilauea down here, so it's not going to flow over Kilauea, but this area, it can get into those areas, this yellow area. And if you look, there was a flow in 1880, but most of these didn't get down to the water. And so it can take days to weeks in this area also to get into any type of populated area, because the populated areas are all on the highways here, Highway 11. But if you look at South Kona, this red area, this is the area that has the greatest threat of a flow quickly getting to populated areas. And if you look, there was very recent flows in 1950. There was 2 flows, and you can see these as you drive to South Kona, where you pass first lava flow and second lava flow, and you can just see there's a strip of old lava that runs across the highway. And so those flows happened in 1950. Those took 3 hours or less. And if you look, it's pretty much hours or days to get into these areas, right? There was a flow down to Miloli in less than 4 days. There was a flow here that took 18 hours, 29 hours down here, 3.5 hours down here. And so there are a lot of communities along the highway. This is where Ocean View is at. This is Miloli right here, the old fishing village. And there's lots of old properties all along the highway here. So there is definitely a threat of it quickly getting to that area. But the current flow is actually happening and going towards the center of the island, up in this area towards Puaku. So it is not flowing towards the side of the island where it can flow the quickest, where the topography is steepest. So there isn't a huge threat to any populated areas at the moment if it continues to flow out this way. This is where Puaku training area is. This is Saddle Road right here, this line going through here. So, it could get to Saddle Road potentially. And that would obviously cut off a main thoroughfare across the island. But right now it's really high up on near the summit, and there isn't any threat to any life or any property at the moment. So just important to kind of understand this. And if you look at, even the flows that do make it to the ocean, it's these tiny little lines that actually get down to the ocean. So your chance of your exact house getting hit is very, very, very small. And so it's not something that those of us on the island worry about significantly, because the reality is, could it happen? Yes. Is it extremely unlikely? Absolutely. Very, very unlikely that a flow is going to happen within a few hours and get to your house specifically. So again, we're watching it, we're monitoring it, but life goes on. And make sure you just putting stuff into perspective as always, because sometimes the news can over exaggerate things, and it's definitely not the case here. We're going on life as usual, but we'll continue to monitor. I'll post updates as they come. Things change, but as of right now, no big emergencies here on the Big Island. I'll see you guys later. Aloha.